Chapter 35. Of course it froze. Thanks for your patience, guys. Chapter 35. Mother gets involved. Remember the last chapter we read where mom seems to be turning a corner and wants to just have her daughter back. I was homesick for most of February. Liz called once or twice a week, pretending to be Lisa from math class. On Valentine's Day, little Jimmy showed up on our front porch with his skinny legs and his old bike. I was in my old pink bathrobe when I opened the door, which was kind of embarrassing. But little Jimmy smiled at me like he was wearing a ball gown. "Hello," he said. "Hi. I brought you your school assignments." He handed me a page torn out of his notebook that listed all my work. "Thanks," I said. And for the first time, I noticed that his large eyes were a pretty golden brown color like a caramel candy. He turned to go, and I suddenly called out, "Liz says hi too." Little Jimmy smiled. "You won't tell anyone?" I asked. "Of course not," said little Jimmy. "Feel better, Marley." That night I searched through all the papers and books he had brought, looking for a card or paper heart, but I didn't find one. I was a little disappointed. It was early March by the time I was well enough to go back to school. Back to school. When the day finally came, I was excited. "Ready to go, Daddy?" I asked. "Mother's going to take you today." "Why?" "I'm going to be subbing at your school," said Mother. "What?" "The school board came up with the idea of using the high school teachers as substitutes at the schools for the younger students," explained Mother. "They get qualified substitutes, and the school system saves money, since they're paying us regardless." You two can take the car," said Daddy. "I'll ride the bus." Now, I love my mother. I was glad that she had helped me fold the flyers. But the only thing I could imagine that was worse than being in junior high was having Mother come with me to junior high. "Some of the other teachers are against it," Mother continued as we drove to school. "I guess they think it's beneath them to teach the younger grades. Or maybe they're afraid of maintaining order. But I'm thrilled to finally have something to do." I nodded and prayed that no one would see us together. Soon as we arrived at school, I waved to her. "Bye," I said. "See you at home." She headed off to the office to get her assignment. I went on to Miss Taylor's class and found my seat. Sally leaned over to me. "Welcome back." "Thanks," I said. "Was that your mother I saw outside the school this morning?" Sally asked. "No." I lied and got up to sharpen my pencil. JT caught up with me at the sharpener. "Marley!" he exclaimed. "You're back!" I sighed. "Hi, JT. Am I ever glad to see you," he said. "I tried cheating off Sally, but she's no good at math. And Mr. Harding said if I don't get help soon, he's going to have to hold me back." "JT," I said, "I told you I'm done helping you." Okay. Can't blame a guy for asking. One of these days you'll change your mind." "Not in a million years." The bell rang and we both took our seats. Miss Taylor still wasn't there. I can't believe I didn't realize what was going to happen. But I didn't. Not until the door opened, and she came in. My mother smiled at me. She actually waved like she was on stage or something. I tried to sink down into my seat and disappear. "Hello, class. My name is Mrs. Nisbet." She wrote her name on the board in big block letters. "Miss Taylor is out sick with the flu, so today I'm going to be your teacher." JT raised his hand. "Aren't you Marley's mother?" "Why, yes." Mother looked pleased. "Yes, I am." What I wouldn't have given for another case of the measles. In the cafeteria, the talk was all about Sally's upcoming birthday party. She was going to have it at Troy's roller rink and had invited everyone. When I'd had my fill of discussing cake favors and party dresses, I got up and walked over to where little Jimmy was writing in his notebook. "Hi," I said. "Hi," he said and blushed. "Thanks for bringing my homework to my house." Little Jimmy shrugged. "No problem." "Want to come sit with Sally and Nora and me?" I asked. He glanced at Sally and Nora, then back at me. "Why?" "Well," I started, "it's a big table, and Sally's always sits at the end, and I'm in the middle, but there's no one at the other end, and you're here by yourself, and I just thought, why use two tables when one would work?" "Oh. And I wanted to say thank you for bringing my homework," I finished. "You mentioned that," he said. "So will you?" I asked. "Sure." He smiled and picked up his notebook. I took his bagged lunch and moved it to the far end of our table. Marley, what are you doing? Asked Sally. Inviting little Jimmy to join us for lunch, I said. Why? Asked Sally. If it's a problem, said little Jimmy. No, I said. Sit down. He did. Sally rolled her eyes and continued her discussion of party decorations with Nora. Little Jimmy kept his eyes on his notebook. He still had his pen in his hand, as if he couldn't decide if he should talk to me or continue writing. I remembered what Liz said to me. Don't worry, I whispered. You don't have to actually talk to me. Just sitting here is enough. Little Jimmy smiled and put his pen down. His eyes crinkled, and I knew what he was doing. He was saying the words in his head. I wonder what was going to come out. Just then, Mother came over to our table. Marley, do you know Mrs. Dalton's boy, that nice James Thomas? Asked Mother. Of course I knew JT, but Mother pointed him out like I'd never seen him before. He turned, as if he could feel her gaze, and waved. She grinned in return. Yes, I said finally. Well, said Mother, he told me he was having trouble in math, and you're so good at it, I thought you could tutor him. He said that would be swell to meet him after school in the library. I've got some paperwork to do anyway, so I'll wait for you, and then we could drive home together. What? I'd finally told him no, once and for all, and my mother had gone and told him yes. I was so mad, I couldn't think straight. The words bottled up in my throat like people running from a fire, all trying to rush to the door at once. I glared at her, hoping she would notice something was wrong, but she just looked pleased with herself. Well, I have to go get ready for my next class. See you after lunch, Marley. Little Jimmy watched her go. Then he turned back at me, with his big brown eyes. Are you okay, Marley? I shook my head. The final bell rang, and it was time to go to the library. I trudged there, my feet as heavy as my heart. JT was sitting on a table waiting for me. Hi, Marley. I opened my own math book and did the assignment. Furiously, pressing the pencil down so hard it broke. Twice. Each time I had to get up to sharpen it, I told myself I could just walk out of there. I could flee. I wasn't chained to the desk or anything. I could just go to Mother and tell her everything. Tell her that I had liked JT, but now I didn't, and I didn't want to do his work anymore, but I needed help telling him no, and she wasn't helping. JT kept whistling the entire time, flipping through the pages of his comic book. When I was done, I picked up the paper and threw it at him. But paper doesn't throw very well unless you fold it into a paper airplane, which I hadn't done, so it just kind of slid into his lap. Thanks, Marley, said JT as he placed the homework in his comic book and closed it. See you around. And he started to stroll out of the library. I hated him. I was going to tell him so. I was going to throw words like daggers at him. I was just figuring out which ones to say. If you ask me to do your homework again, I'll tell Mr. Harding. I'll get my big brother to come beat you up, and my mother walked into the library. You kids done already? She asked. Yes, ma'am, said JT. Well then, come on, I'll drive you home. I sat in the back seat as far away from JT as possible, pressing myself into the side door. Neither he nor Mother seemed to notice. Mother chattered the whole way home, and JT laughed at all the right spots. When we reached JT's house, Mrs. Dalton was waiting on the front porch with a tray with lemonade. JT climbed off first, and Mother turned back to me. Get out, Marley. Let's go say hello. I shook my head. Marley! I got out of the car. Mrs. Dalton looked like a delicate bird wrapped in a silk scarf, huddled up in the wicker chair on her porch. She acted glad to see us, though she didn't say much. The lemonade was too sweet, and the cookies were dry and crumbly. Mother and JT chatted and laughed, while I got quieter and quieter. Are you going to go to Sally's party next month? JT asked. I nodded. What's this? Asked Mother. Sally McDaniels is having a birthday party at the roller rink, explained JT. I wanted to ask if Marley would go with me. What, like a date? Oh, that would be lovely, said Mother. Oh no, it wouldn't. It would be terrible. But even Mrs. Dalton nodded. I'd be happy to drive them there and pick them up. Then it's decided, said Mother. No one even asked me what I thought, and I didn't say a thing.